Chosen one, the second your finger touched this screen, a 20-second countdown began over your house. Not tomorrow. Not someday, right now, tonight. While you're sitting there. I know what you're thinking. Another video promising another miracle. But stop. Listen to me very carefully. What I'm about to tell you isn't coming from me. This is a dispatch, a warning and a promise wrapped together. And it found you for one reason. Your address is marked on heaven's calendar for tonight. You've survived 70, 80, maybe 90 years on this planet. You've buried people you loved. You've watched your savings disappear and reappear. You've lived through wars that took your friends, recessions that took your security, and heartbreaks that almost took your will to keep breathing. You don't scare easy anymore. You don't chase drama. You just want peace in whatever time you have left. God heard that. But here's what he also heard: the enemy whispering one last assault against your home. Not next month. Tonight. Because the devil knows something about seniors that young people don't understand yet. Your prayers carry weight now. Your faith isn't theory anymore, it's tested steel. And that terrifies hell. So Archangel Michael has been dispatched. Not to frighten you, but to stand between you and what was scheduled to hit your front door in the next few hours. Picture this. Your home, whether it's a small apartment in Queens or a house in the Bronx, it's like a little building on a busy street. You think you're alone up there. But above your roof, there's a command center, heaven's war room. And tonight, they're watching your address like air traffic control watches a plane in a storm. Something tried to get clearance to land at your door tonight. Michael just denied it. Before we go deeper, let me pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving, you're helping spread this light to others who feel forgotten in their final years. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful you're here. Your time, your attention, it matters to heaven. And if your spirit is already stirring, go ahead and sow that seed of faith. But chosen one, we need to move fast. In about 2 minutes, I'll tell you why the enemy waited until now at this stage of your life. When you thought the battles were over, to try one last hit against your peace. Don't move, don't scroll, we're not even at the 5th second yet. If something in your chest just shifted, if you felt that, type, "I'm listening, Lord," in the comments right now. That simple act is like unlocking your front door to heaven's protection, not to fear. The countdown has already started. And what happens at 0 will change everything. Now listen to me carefully, chosen one. When I say a divine event reaches your home tonight, I need you to understand something right now. I'm not talking about random chows. I'm not talking about disaster crashing through your window. I'm talking about a God-authorized interruption, a holy invasion, a moment when heaven itself steps into your living room and says, "Enough. We're taking over from here." You've lived long enough to know the difference between coincidence and providence. You know when something feels bigger than circumstance. And what's happening tonight, what's already started, carries the fingerprints of the Almighty all over it. Let me break this down into 3 dimensions so you understand exactly what's landing at your door. First, protection. Something that was scheduled to hit you doesn't. Maybe it was a health crisis that was supposed to manifest next week. Maybe it was a phone call that would have shattered your peace. Maybe it was a financial blow that hell had been positioning for months. But tonight, Michael stands at your threshold and says, "Not this house. Not this one." Exodus 22:4 tells us, "When I see the blood, I will pass over you." That's not just ancient history, dear one. That's tonight. The blood of Christ has marked your home, and what was meant to destroy you will pass right by. Second, exposure. Now this one might sting a little, but stay with me. A divine event doesn't just protect you from outside attacks, it exposes what's already inside. That bitterness you've been nursing for 3 years against your daughter-in-law. That habit of complaining that's become so normal you don't even hear it anymore. That voice in your head that keeps saying, "You're too old, too forgotten, too insignificant for God to use you now." Tonight, those hidden things get dragged into the light, not to shame you, to free you, because you can't heal what you won't reveal. Third shift, you're going to feel something change in the atmosphere of your home. It might be sudden peace where there was anxiety. It might be clarity where there was confusion. It might be conviction that hits you like a warm wave, not condemnation, but holy conviction that says, it's time. Time to forgive. Time to surrender. Time to believe again. When God moves in, the air itself changes frequency. Now I need you to understand something about your season of life. You may be in your 60s, 70s, even 80s. You might feel like all the big events already happened, your wedding day, the birth of your children, that moment you gave your heart to Christ decades ago. You might think God's big moves are for younger people in mega churches with their hands raised and their lives ahead of them. But that's a lie from hell. God has scheduled one more divine event for you, not in a stadium, not on a stage, in your living room, in your kitchen, in that bedroom where you've cried more tears than anyone knows. Because the greatest miracles don't need an audience, they need a willing heart. Think of your home like a spiritual airport. There are flights scheduled to land at your gate every single day. Some carry blessings. Some carry attacks. Some carry lessons. But tonight, heaven's air traffic control is watching your address like a hawk. Something tried to get clearance to land at your door, something dark, something destructive. Michael just diverted it, denied access, rerouted it back to the pit it came from. But here's what you need to hear. While he's standing guard at your front door, Jesus is standing at another door, the door of your heart. Revelation 3:20 says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in." He's not forcing his way in, he's knocking gently, persistently, waiting for you to turn the handle from the inside. Some of you are feeling it right now, that restlessness that's been keeping you up at 2 a.m. for the past week. Those sudden tears that came out of nowhere while you were watching television. That strange heaviness in your chest that doctors can't explain. You thought something was wrong with you, but what if something is finally going right? What if that uneasiness is heaven trying to get your attention? What if God has been orchestrating every circumstance, every delay, every disappointment of the last 6 months just to position you alone, quiet, and desperate enough to hear him tonight? You've survived wars. You've buried people you loved. You've watched the world change in ways that make you feel like a stranger in your own country. But you're still here, still breathing, still believing even when belief hurts. And God is saying, that's why I chose you. That's why I scheduled this night for you. Because you're one of the few left who can still recognize my voice in the noise. Some of you already felt whispers of this event. Strange dreams. Unexpected peace in the middle of chaos. A knowing in your spirit that something is about to break open. Coming up, I'll walk you through the exact signs that this divine event is already on your street, already climbing your steps, already standing at your door. But right now I need you to do something. If something in your house has felt off lately, if the atmosphere has been heavy or strange or charged, don't click away. Don't dismiss this as coincidence. That uneasiness might be heaven trying to talk to you. And the question that will determine everything is this: when God knocks tonight, will you open the door? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to tell you might explain the last 2 weeks of your life in a way that will make your hands shake. You've been waking up at 3 a.m., haven't you? Not to use the bathroom. Not because of pain, you just wake up, eyes wide open, heart quiet but alert. And in those dark hours you feel something. Not fear, not quite peace either. Just presence. Like someone standing in your hallway, but you're not afraid. That's not insomnia, beloved. That's a sign. Or maybe it's the memories. Suddenly out of nowhere, you're remembering things from 40 years ago with crystal clarity. The smell of your mother's kitchen, the sound of your father's voice. That summer in 1995 when everything felt possible. You haven't thought about these moments in decades, and now they're flooding back like someone opened a dam in your mind. You thought it was just your age, just your brain playing tricks. But what if I told you that heaven is showing you these memories for a reason? What if God is reminding you of every moment He carried you through, every season He sustained you, every year He kept you breathing when others didn't make it? Because something's coming tonight that will require you to remember His faithfulness. Some of you have felt this strange urge to clean, to organize, to throw things out. You've been going through closets you haven't touched in years, donating clothes, clearing out that junk drawer. Your children think you're preparing to downsize, but you can't explain it. Something inside you just said, it's time to make space. Dear one, you're not losing your mind, you're preparing your house. Not for guests, for glory. It's like when New York City prepares for the Thanksgiving parade. Days before, barricades show up on 6th Avenue. Streets close, traffic reroutes. People complain about the inconvenience. But it's all because something magnificent is about to pass through. The disruption isn't random. It's preparation. Your life has felt disrupted lately, hasn't it? Arguments that came out of nowhere. Your daughter snapped at you over something small. Your son hasn't called in 3 weeks. The neighbor who always smiled suddenly seems cold. Money's been tighter than usual. That pain in your hip flared up again. Social security didn't stretch as far this month. You sat at your kitchen table last Tuesday and thought, why is everything falling apart at once? What if it's not falling apart? What if it's being rearranged? Psalm 1 says, for He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways, not some of your ways, all your ways. But did you know that sometimes angelic protection looks like disruption? Because the enemy sends attacks to distract you right before breakthrough arrives. Think about it. The devil knows your address. He knows your routine. He knows you wake up, make coffee, watch the news, take your pills, maybe call a friend. He's studied you for decades. And when heaven marks your home for a divine visitation, hell mobilizes one last assault to make you too tired, too angry, too distracted to receive it. Those arguments, spiritual interference, that financial squeeze, a distraction, that loneliness that's been heavier than usual, an attack designed to make you feel forgotten right before God reminds you that you're chosen. The enemy doesn't waste bullets on empty targets. If your home has been under attack, it's because something's being delivered there tonight. But here's what breaks my heart. Some of you have been sitting in that loneliness for so long, you've convinced yourselves it's normal. Your kids moved to California, Texas, Florida. They've got their own lives now. The grandchildren FaceTime on birthdays if you're lucky. That house that used to overflow with noise and life now echoes with silence. You eat dinner alone. You watch TV alone. You go to bed alone. And somewhere deep inside, you started believing the lie that your season of mattering is over. Stop right there. Isaiah 14:5 asks, can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has born? And then God answers His own question, though she may forget, I will not forget you. You think you've been forgotten, but heaven has been watching your empty table, counting your lonely nights, recording every tear you've cried into your pillow. And tonight that changes. You thought what you've been experiencing was just a bad week, just getting older, just life being life at 75, at 82, at 90. But what if what you called a bad week was actually angels rearranging the traffic around your house? What if the chows was heaven clearing a path? What if the disruption was preparation for divine arrival? You're not falling apart, you're being set apart. Every restless night was training you to be spiritually alert. Every memory resurfacing was rebuilding your faith. Every urge to clean was making room in your physical space for spiritual habitation. Every attack was proof that the enemy is terrified of what happens when you finally understand who's standing at your door. If any of this sounds like your last few weeks, if you felt watched over, if you've been waking up at strange hours, if memories have been flooding back, if your home has felt spiritually active, type, "That's me" in the comments right now. You're not alone. This whole community has proved that something is moving across homes all over America tonight. But here's the question that will unlock everything. Why did heaven specifically send Archangel Michael to your address? Not Gabriel, the messenger. Not Raphael, the healer. Michael, the warrior, the fighter, the one who specializes in combat. What does heaven know about tonight that requires a warrior angel at your door? Listen to me very carefully, chosen one. If Archangel Michael has been stationed at your address tonight, it means something most people will never understand in their entire lives. It means your home isn't just a place where you sleep and eat your meals. Your home has been marked as a battlefield. Let me tell you who Michael is, because this matters more than you realize. In the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 2, the prophet was praying for 21 days. 21 days of fasting, seeking God's face, desperate for answers. And an angel finally appeared to him and said something that should shake you to your core. "The prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me." Did you catch that? There was a war happening in the unseen realm while Daniel was praying in his living room. Demonic forces were blocking the answer. And God didn't send just any angel, he sent Michael, the warrior, the commander, the one who shows up when the resistance is so intense that ordinary intervention won't cut it. Michael appears again in Revelation chapter 2, verse 6. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. This isn't poetry, beloved. This is military language. Michael leads heaven's army. He is the general who doesn't get deployed for minor skirmishes. He gets deployed for war. So if Michael is standing at your door tonight, what does that tell you? It tells you that there has been warfare around your name, warfare around your bloodline, warfare around your prayers and your peace. The enemy did not want you to reach this age with your faith still intact. He didn't want you to make it to 70, 80, 90 years old still believing, still praying, still dangerous to his kingdom. You thought you were retired, didn't you? You thought the battles were over. You thought, I've served my time. I've raised my kids. I've worked my job. Now I just want to sit in my chair and watch the news and wait for Jesus to call me home. But hell didn't get that memo. Hell looked at you and saw a strategic threat. Because you carry something the younger generation doesn't have yet. You carry tested faith. You carry the kind of prayers that have been refined in the fire of decades. You carry spiritual authority that comes from surviving what should have destroyed you. And your grandchildren, whether they know it or not, carry your spiritual DNA in their souls. That terrifies the enemy. Picture this with me. In heaven's war room there's a massive map. And on that map your home is marked. It's a tiny dot on a massive battlefield, but next to your address there are red circles and arrows like you'd see on a general's strategy board. There are notes about your prayer life, your faithfulness, your influence over the next generation. And the enemy has been planning an assault. Not a physical break-in, not a robbery, something worse, an assault on your peace. An attack on your health. A last-ditch effort to steal your joy, poison your final years, and make you give up on God right before you cross the finish line. But Michael saw it coming. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Michael doesn't get sent to meaningless locations. He doesn't waste time guarding empty buildings or lukewarm believers who pray once a month when they're in trouble. Michael gets deployed to strategic sites, high-value targets, places where if the enemy wins, it would cause massive damage to the kingdom of God. If Michael is standing at your doorstep tonight, then your home is both a strategic target and a strategic treasure for heaven. You think you're just an old person living in a small apartment in Brooklyn or a little house in the Bronx. But heaven sees you as a fortress, a command post, a place where prayers rise like smoke and shift the atmosphere over your entire neighborhood. The enemy tried to get clearance to land something at your door tonight. Maybe it was despair. Maybe it was a health crisis. Maybe it was confusion or fear or a spirit of heaviness, so thick you'd wake up tomorrow wondering why life even matters anymore. But Michael stood in your hallway and said, "Not tonight. Not on my watch. Right now I need you to do something. I need you to speak this out loud, right where you're sitting. Say it with me. My home is under heaven's protection." Say it again. Louder this time. My home is under heaven's protection. Type it in the comments below. Let the enemy see it. Let hell read it. Let heaven record it. My home is under heaven's protection. Because when you declare that, you're not just saying words. You're activating the same authority that Michael himself operates under. You're reminding the forces of darkness that they are trespassing on holy ground. But here's what you need to understand, and this is urgent. Michael didn't just show up to stand guard. He came to intercept something. Something that was already in motion. Something that had your name on it, your address on it, and a delivery date of tonight. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly what almost reached your home before Michael stepped in. And when you hear it, everything that's happened in the last few weeks of your life is going to make sense. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting to the part where you discover why the last 20 seconds of heaven's countdown matter more than the last 20 years of your life. Let me tell you something that's going to shake you. In the last 6 months, there have been 3 separate attacks aimed directly at your home. 3 delivery trucks from hell, loaded with packages labeled confusion, loss, and final blow. They had your address. They had clearance. They were 10 feet from your front door. But they never made it inside. You remember that health scare, don't you? That pain that woke you up at 2 a.m., sharp and unfamiliar. That test result the doctor called about, voice just a little too serious. You sat in that waiting room with your hands folded, trying not to think about caskets and goodbyes. You didn't tell your kids because you didn't want them to worry. You just prayed quiet prayers while filling out forms. That was attack number 1. Hell sent it express delivery. But something happened between the lab and the final diagnosis. Something shifted. The numbers changed. The pain faded. The doctor used words like unusual and unexpected improvement. You walked out of that office thinking it was luck or good genes. It wasn't luck, beloved. It was Michael standing in your hallway with a flaming sword, stamping that package return to sender. Then there was the money. Oh, the money. Bills stacking up like accusers on your kitchen table, the furnace dying in February, the car breaking down the same week the property tax came due. You're on a fixed income. Social Security doesn't stretch like it used to. You laid awake doing math in your head, calculating which bill could wait, which couldn't, wondering if this was finally the month you'd have to ask your children for help. The shame of that almost killed you faster than the debt. That was attack number 2. Financial suffocation designed to make you feel worthless in your final years, like you're a burden instead of a blessing. But then that check came. The refund you weren't expecting. The surprise from a place you'd forgotten about. Just enough. Always just enough. You called it coincidence. I'm calling it warfare. Heaven's supply line beating hell's strategy. And what about that phone call? You know the one I'm talking about. The conversation that ended in tears and silence. Your own child, the one you raised, sacrificed for, prayed over, speaking to you like you're a stranger. Words that cut deeper than any surgeon's knife. The kind of words you replay at 3 a.m., wondering what you did wrong, wondering if you failed as a parent. That phone hasn't rung in weeks now, has it? The silence sits in your living room like an unwanted guest. Every time you hear a phone ring on TV, your heart jumps, hoping it's them. That was attack number 3. Relational amputation. Because the enemy knows that isolation kills seniors faster than disease. But here's what you need to understand, and I need you to really hear me on this. Every single one of those attacks nearly succeeded. Nearly. That word matters. Nearly means it got close. Nearly means hell thought it had you. Nearly means you were inches from collapse. But nearly is not enough to bring down someone God has sealed. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Those weren't random struggles. Those were coordinated strikes. The enemy looked at your address and said, "They're old now, they're tired, they're weak. One more hit and they'll give up." But he forgot who's been standing guard over your home since before you were born. Psalm 1 says, "For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways." Not some of your ways. All your ways. The good days and the nearly destroyed days. God did not let you survive the depression, World War I, the loss of your spouse, the raising of children in hard times, just to let you drop here. He didn't bring you through 70, 80, 90 years of life just to abandon you in the final stretch. Those close calls weren't evidence of bad luck. They were evidence of a war over your house. A war that's been raging in realms you can't see. And every time you thought you barely made it, what you were actually witnessing was victory. Heaven winning rounds on your behalf while you slept. Think about this. How many times in the last year have you said, "I don't know how I made it through that"? How many times have you whispered, "That could have been so much worse"? How many mornings have you woken up and thought, "I shouldn't still be here"? Those aren't accidents. Those are Michael's fingerprints all over your survival. Hell sent packages, heaven returned them. And tonight, right now, there's one final delivery attempt happening. But this time, it's not coming from below, it's coming from above. And what's in this package isn't destruction. It's divine disruption of every plan the enemy ever made against your final years. But here's what I need you to do right now. If you know, I mean you know in your bones, that God has saved you from things you didn't even see coming, hit that like button. Let this message reach more homes that need to hear they're not forgotten. And if you want to walk through more nights like this, with people who understand what it means to be chosen in your later years, subscribe and turn on that bell. This isn't just a channel, it's becoming a sanctuary. Because now we need to talk about the final 20 seconds. What it really means. Why your age, your season, your entire history, all of it, is converging into one moment that starts the second you finish hearing these words. You've been counting time your whole life, haven't you? Birthdays, anniversaries, retirement dates, doctor appointments. The clock on your nightstand that glows in the dark, reminding you that another night is passing. Another year is slipping away. The Greeks had a word for that kind of time, chronos. It's the time that ticks, the time that ages you, the time that takes and never gives back. Every wrinkle on your face is chronos. Every prescription bottle in your cabinet is chronos. Every funeral you've attended is chronos, marking its territory on your life. But there's another kind of time the Greeks understood. A time that doesn't tick, it strikes. A time that doesn't age you, it transforms you. A time when everything that's been stuck suddenly moves all at once. They called it kairos, God's appointed moment. And chosen one. What you're experiencing right now, this very moment as these words wash over your spirit, this is kairos crashing into your chronos like lightning into still water. Listen to me carefully. You've lived 70, 80, 90 years in chronos time. Slow, steady, predictable. You've watched the seasons change through the same window. You've walked the same streets. You've prayed the same prayers. And somewhere deep inside, you started believing that this is all there is. That the best you can hope for is to manage your medications, stretch your social security, and wait. But God doesn't operate in Chronos. He operates in Kairos. When God decided to part the Red Sea, He didn't do it gradually over 40 years. He did it in one night. When He decided to knock Saul off his horse and turn him into Paul, He didn't schedule a series of therapy sessions. He did it in one blinding moment on the Damascus Road. When He decided to roll the stone away from Jesus' tomb, He didn't ease it open over 3 days. He shattered death itself in one explosive instant. 20 seconds. That's what this represents. Not literal seconds on a clock, but a Kairos window. A moment when heaven says, enough delay, enough circles, enough waiting, now. And I know what you're thinking, but I'm running out of time. I'm too old for sudden miracles. I'm too tired for dramatic shifts. That's Chronos talking. That's the voice of clocks and calendars and the world's measurements. But Kairos doesn't care about your age. Kairos is when God looks at what you thought was lost in 20 years and says, I can redeem that in 20 seconds. Sarah was 90 years old, 90, when Kairos struck her womb and she conceived Isaac. Abraham was 100 when he held the promise that Chronos said was impossible. Moses was 80 when the burning bush interrupted his ordinary day and turned him into a deliverer of nations. You think God's done with you because your body is slowing down. That's not how heaven operates. Your body is in Chronos, but your spirit is positioned for Kairos. And when Kairos comes, it doesn't ask permission from your arthritis, your bank account, or your age. Picture this. You're sitting at a red light in Manhattan. You've been sitting there for what feels like forever. Cars behind you. Cars in front of you. Nowhere to go. The light stays red. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. And you start thinking, maybe this light is broken. Maybe I'm going to be stuck here forever. But then suddenly it turns green. And what happens? Every car moves, all at once. The whole intersection shifts in an instant. That's Kairos. That backup of traffic that felt permanent. It was just waiting for the right moment to release. You've been sitting at a spiritual red light, financial red light, health red light, family red light. And you've been thinking, this is just how it is now. I'm stuck here until the end. But tonight, right now, as I'm speaking, the light is turning green. Not because you earned it. Not because you figured out the magic formula. But because heaven's timing is perfect and your Kairos moment has arrived. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says it plainly, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven, time. Not times. Not multiple attempts, one appointed time when everything aligns. This is yours. The countdown isn't about fear. It's about acceleration. What's been stuck at your doorstep, that breakthrough, that healing, that reconciliation, that provision, it's about to move. Not slowly, not gradually, all at once. But here's the question that will determine everything. Will you recognize Kairos when it knocks? Will you open the door when heaven sends its warrior to your address? Or will you stay locked in Chronos thinking, explaining it away, telling yourself it's too good to be true? Because the tragedy isn't that God doesn't move. The tragedy is when He moves and we miss it because we were too busy watching clocks instead of watching for Him. If you're ready for God's timing, if you're ready to step out of Chronos and into Kairos, write, Lord, I step into Kairos, in the comments right now. That's not just a comment. That's your agreement with heaven. That's you unlocking your front door. But what do you do in these final 20 seconds? How do you stand? How do you pray? How do you posture your heart so you don't miss what's arriving at your door tonight? Because there's a way to wait that invites, and there's a way to wait that resists. Let me show you exactly what to do next. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to give you isn't theory. This isn't something to think about tomorrow or add to your Sunday routine. This is for tonight, the next few hours, before you close your eyes and fall asleep. You've heard 1,000 sermons in your lifetime, haven't you? You've sat through Bible studies and prayer meetings and revivals. But how many times did someone give you actual instructions? How many times did a preacher look you in the eye and say, "Here's exactly what to do when you get home"? That's what this is, step by step. Simple. Double. Even if your knees don't bend like they used to, even if your memory isn't what it was, even if you're tired and it's already late, you can do this. Because here's what most people don't understand about divine appointments. God doesn't need you to be impressive. He needs you to be available. And availability doesn't require strength. It requires surrender. So let's walk through this together. Like I'm sitting across your kitchen table, and we're preparing your home for what heaven's scheduled to arrive tonight. Step 1. Create a small sacred moment. You don't need a cathedral. You don't need candles and incense and a worship team. You need a chair, a quiet room, maybe a lamp turned low if the overhead light hurts your eyes. That's it, sit down. Put both feet flat on the floor if you can. Feel the ground beneath you. You're not floating through this life, beloved. You're planted, and tonight you're opening a door. Take 3 slow breaths, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And with that third breath, say out loud, even if it's just a whisper, "Lord, I invite you into this home." Not as a guest, as the owner. That's it. You just shifted the atmosphere. Step 2. A short, powerful prayer. I'm going to give you words you can repeat, or you can use your own. But say something. Don't just think it. Speak it. Because faith comes by hearing, and sometimes you need to hear your own voice declare what heaven already knows. Repeat after me in your spirit. Lord, if you have scheduled a divine event for my home tonight, I open my heart. I open my door. Protect this house from every attack. Expose what's been hidden in the shadows. Shift what needs shifting. I trust you, even when I don't understand. That prayer just activated something in the spiritual realm. You think it's small. Heaven calls it a key. Step 3. Release and forgiveness. Now this is where it gets uncomfortable, but stay with me. Close your eyes and picture the faces of people who hurt you. Your daughter who doesn't call. Your son who chose his wife's family over you. That friend who spread rumors. The church that forgot you when you couldn't drive anymore. See their faces. And one by one, say their names out loud and release them. I forgive name. I release them to you, Lord. You don't have to feel it yet. You just have to say it. Because forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. Here's why this matters. Picture your home like a narrow hallway. If that hallway is cluttered with bitterness, resentment, and old grudges, there's no room for Michael to move. He's been dispatched to your address, but he needs space to work. Clear the hallway. Make room for the warrior. Step 4. A physical prophetic act. If you can stand, even for just a moment, I want you to walk to your front door. Touch it with your hand. Feel the wood or the metal under your palm. And whisper these words. This house belongs to the Lord. If you can't walk to the door, touch the arm of your chair. Touch the table. Touch the wall next to your bed. It doesn't matter what you touch. What matters is that you're marking territory. You're declaring ownership, not yours, his. In the Old Testament, they anointed doorposts with oil. You don't need oil tonight. You need intention. You need to look at the physical space you live in and say, "Devil, you have no authority here. Michael, you have full clearance." Now I know what some of you are thinking. That seems too simple, too small. How could touching my door and whispering a few words change anything? Let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind. In the kingdom of God, the smallest acts carry the greatest weight. A boy's lunch fed 5,000. A widow's penny outweighed the rich man's fortune. One touch of Jesus' robe healed a woman who'd bled for 12 years. You think your whispered prayer is small, heaven calls it thunder. You think your forgiveness is weak, hell calls it a weapon. You think touching your door means nothing. The enemy just lost his access code. Those little acts you're about to do tonight, they're not symbolic, they're keys. Keys that unlock entire hallways of miracles you've been praying for. Keys that open doors your grandchildren will walk through years from now without even knowing you're the one who turned the lock. So I'm asking you right now, are you going to do at least one of these steps tonight? Not tomorrow. Not when you feel more spiritual, tonight. Before you sleep. If the answer is yes, if you're going to create that sacred moment, if you're going to speak that prayer, if you're going to release those names. If you're going to touch that door, type, I will in the comments right now. Let heaven see your decision. Let this community witness your obedience. Let the enemy know he just lost access to your home. Because what you do in the next few hours isn't just about you anymore. There are people who share your last name, children, grandchildren, maybe even great-grandchildren who are going to feel the shift from this divine event. Even if they don't live with you, even if they're 1,000 miles away. This protection, this breakthrough, this heavenly visitation you're about to experience, it's got a ripple effect. And we need to talk about that right now. You know what keeps you awake at 3 in the morning? It's not your arthritis. It's not the bills on the kitchen table. It's the faces. Your son who hasn't called in 6 months. Your granddaughter who posts pictures on Facebook that break your heart. Your grandson who can't seem to stay clean no matter how many times he promises. You lie there in the dark and you whisper the same prayer you've whispered 1,000 times. God, please. I won't be here forever. What happens to them when I'm gone? Let me tell you about Margaret. Real woman, small town in upstate New York, 73 years old. Every morning at 5:30, she'd sit at her kitchen table with her coffee and her worn Bible and she'd pray for her son David. Hadn't spoken to her in 4 years. 4 years of silence so loud it echoed through that empty house. She didn't pray fancy prayers. She just said his name, David, Jesus, David, over and over. Some mornings she'd cry. Some mornings she'd just sit there numb, wondering if God was even listening anymore. Then one Tuesday night in October, her phone rang. David's voice broken. Mom, I don't know why I'm calling. I need to come home. 3 months later, her granddaughter, David's daughter who'd been stripping in Atlantic City to pay for her pills, she showed up at Margaret's door. Clean, sober, crying, Grandma, something happened to Dad, and then something happened to me. What did you do? Margaret didn't do anything. She just prayed in a kitchen in a town nobody's heard of. But here's what she didn't know. Here's what you don't know. When God visits a house, he rarely comes for only one person. He comes for the line. You think you're just an old woman praying at a table. You think you're just an old man sitting in your recliner asking God to intervene. But heaven sees something different. Heaven sees you as the gatekeeper, the last standing firewall between your bloodline and complete spiritual collapse. Your children think they've moved on from faith. Your grandkids think church is for weak people who need a crutch. But you know something they don't know yet. You know that every single person in your family tree is connected. Your prayers don't just go up, they go down. Down through the branches. Down through the DNA. Down through the generations that share your blood. Exodus 20:6 says God shows love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. 1,000 generations. Do you understand what that means? Your faithfulness today is writing checks that your great-great-great-grandchildren will cash 200 years from now. But the enemy also knows this. That's why he's been working overtime to isolate you. to make you think you're too old to matter, to convince you that your kids are too far gone, your grandkids are too corrupted, your family is too broken. Because if he can get you to stop praying, he wins the whole line. Listen to me carefully. Every prayer you've whispered over your children, every tear you've cried in secret, it didn't evaporate. Heaven has been collecting them. Psalm 16 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle." Every single one filed, recorded, stacked on heaven's desk with your family's names on the envelope. And this divine event that's coming to your home tonight, it's the stamp, the approval, the in process mark that says your petition has been moved from pending to active. You want to know why the enemy is so frantic right now? Why the attacks against your peace have been so intense lately? Because he knows what you're about to find out. He knows that when Michael steps into your home tonight, he's not just protecting you. He's activating a spiritual shield over everyone connected to your bloodline. Your son in California who hasn't thought about God in 20 years. Something's about to shift in his spirit and he won't understand why. Your granddaughter who's been sleeping with her boyfriend and posting it online like it's normal. She's about to feel convicted and she won't know where it's coming from. Your grandson who's been drinking himself numb every weekend, he's about to wake up one morning and the craving will be gone. Not because they suddenly got religious, because you've been standing in the gap, because you refused to stop praying even when it looked like nothing was happening. You may feel weak in your body right now. Your hands shake, your knees don't work like they used to. You can't remember names anymore. But in the spirit realm, you are the strongest person in your entire family tree right this second. You are the general. You are the gatekeeper. You are the one who's been authorized to call down heaven's intervention. And that's exactly why this event is hitting your home first. Not your successful daughter who goes to church every Sunday but whose heart is cold. Not your religious nephew who knows all the Bible verses but has no power. You. The one they've written off. The one they think is just a sweet old person who doesn't understand the modern world. But you understand something they've forgotten. You understand that the battle isn't fought with strength, it's fought with surrender. You understand that power doesn't come from being young, it comes from being yielded. Right now, I want you to do something. I want you to drop the first names or initials of your children and grandchildren in the comments. Don't explain, don't write S's, just their names. Because this entire online family, thousands of prayer warriors just like you, we're going to quietly agree with you. We're going to stand with you in the gap. Type them now. This isn't superstition. This is spiritual warfare. This is you opening the door and saying, "Heaven, they're yours. Come for my line." We're getting close to the final seconds now. In just a moment, I'm going to describe exactly what it feels like when this divine event finally crosses your threshold. Because I need you to recognize it when it happens. I need you to know it's not just another quiet night. I need you to understand that the peace you're about to feel isn't relief, it's reinforcement. The clock is still ticking, and zero is coming faster than you think. You know what's happening right now. While you're sitting there listening to my voice, something is shifting in the air around you. You might not see it with your eyes, but your spirit knows. Your spirit has been waiting for this. Let me tell you what it feels like when heaven crosses your threshold. First, there's the peace. Not the kind of peace that makes sense. Not the kind where all your problems suddenly vanish and your bank account fills up and your children call you back. No, this is different. This is the peace that doesn't match your circumstances at all. You're still sitting in the same chair. The bills are still on the table. The doctor's appointment is still tomorrow. But something inside you just exhaled. You know that feeling when you've been holding your breath for so long you forgot you were even doing it. And then suddenly, without planning it, Your body just releases. That's what this is. A divine exhale in your spirit. Second, you might feel an unexpected urge to worship. Maybe you haven't hummed a hymn in months. Maybe you stopped praying out loud because it felt like your words were hitting the ceiling and bouncing back. But right now, in this moment, something in you wants to whisper, "Thank you, Lord." You don't even know what you're thanking Him for yet. But the gratitude is rising up anyway. That's not you, beloved. That's the atmosphere in your home changing. That's Michael clearing the air, pushing back the heaviness that's been pressing against your walls for months, maybe years. Third, there's clarity. Decisions that have been foggy for so long suddenly come into focus. You've been wrestling with something, whether to sell the house, whether to forgive that person, whether to make that call, whether to finally let go of that grief you've been carrying like a stone in your chest, and suddenly you just know. The answer isn't louder, it's clearer. Like someone wiped the fog off a window and now you can see the path. But it's not just internal, chosen one. There are outer signs too. Your phone might ring in the next 24 hours, and it won't be a spam call. It won't be another robocall about your car's extended warranty. It will be the call, the one you've been waiting for, the reconciliation, the opportunity, the help you needed but were too proud to ask for. The answer to a prayer you stopped praying because you thought God stopped listening. A door opens, not a metaphorical door, a real door. Maybe it's your front door and someone shows up with exactly what you needed. Maybe it's a door you've been trying to open for years and suddenly the lock turns. Maybe it's a door you didn't even know existed, and when it swings open, you realize God was building this path the whole time while you thought you were standing still. And here's what you'll notice most of all: the heaviness in your house breaks. You know what I'm talking about. That weight that settles in when you've been alone too long, when grief has made itself at home in your spare bedroom, when worry sits at your kitchen table like an uninvited guest who won't leave. Suddenly, the air feels lighter. Your apartment doesn't feel so small anymore. The walls don't feel like they're closing in. It's like the moment the power comes back on in a New York apartment after a blackout. You didn't realize how dark it was until the lights flicker and the hum returns and the refrigerator kicks back on and you can hear life moving again. It's like the first warm day after a brutal winter. Nothing changed on the calendar. It's still March. The date didn't shift. But everything changed in the air. You walk outside and you can smell it. Something died and something's being born. That's what's happening in your home right now. That's Archangel Michael at work. Not with a sword drawn for battle, but with authority that doesn't need to shout. He's escorting in the presence of God Himself. And where God's presence enters, darkness doesn't fight, it flees. But here's what I need you to understand, and this is the climax of everything I've been building to. This is not just a message you're watching. This is not just a video that randomly showed up in your feed. You are not a spectator to this event. You are standing inside it. Right now, while I'm speaking. While you're listening, the event isn't coming, it's here. The countdown I told you about at the beginning, we're at 0. Not in some future moment. Now, this moment is the moment. You're watching this video is part of the divine appointment. Heaven orchestrated this collision between my words and your ears for such a time as this. Psalm G9 says, "For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways," not might command. Will command. Present tense. Active happening. Michael is in your hallway right now, standing between you and what the enemy scheduled to hit your home tonight. And you're feeling it. That's why you haven't clicked away. That's why something in your chest is burning. That's why tears are forming and you don't even know why. If you feel something shifting even as you listen, if the atmosphere in your room just changed right, it's happening in my home. In the comments right now. Not for me, you. So you remember this moment. So you mark this threshold crossing. And listen to me carefully. Send this video to one person whose home needs a move of God tonight. One person. You know who they are. Their face just flashed in your mind. Be the messenger to their doorstep. Let this reach them the same way it reached you. We're at the final seconds of this message, but not the final seconds of what God is doing. Let me bless you before you go and tell you exactly what to watch for in the next 24 hours. Chosen one, we've reached the end of the countdown. But this isn't where your story ends. This is where it shifts. I want you to do something for me in the next 24 hours. Not because I'm asking, but because heaven is watching to see if you're paying attention to what's already been set in motion. Michael didn't just show up for a moment. He's standing watch. And in the next day, you're going to see 3 signs that prove tonight wasn't just words on a screen. First, watch for a small sign of peace in your body or your mind. Maybe it's the first night in months you sleep without waking up at 3 a.m. in a panic. Maybe it's that pain in your chest that's been sitting there like a stone it lightens. Maybe it's just a thought you haven't had in years. I'm going to be okay. Don't dismiss it. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. Second, watch for a small shift in your home. The atmosphere changes when angels take position. Maybe tomorrow morning, your spouse says something kinder than usual. Maybe that argument that's been brewing just dissolves. Maybe you walk into your living room and it feels different, lighter, warmer, safer. Pay attention. Your home is being recalibrated tonight. Third, watch for a small sign connected to your children or grandchildren. A phone call you weren't expecting. A text message that says, "I was thinking about you." Maybe one of them mentions a dream or asks you to pray for something they've never asked before. These aren't accidents. When Michael moves in your home, the ripple touches your bloodline. Write these 3 things down. Check them off as they happen. Because God wants you to have evidence. He knows your generation doesn't believe in feelings alone. You need proof, and He's about to give it to you. Now let me pray over you, and I mean really pray, not just words. This is a seal. Father, over every home under the sound of my voice right now, let your presence rest like a blanket over a sleeping child. Let Archangel Michael take his post at their front doors, their back doors, their windows. Let every plan of darkness that was scheduled to land tonight be cancelled, rerouted, sent back to the pit it crawled from. Let this night be marked in heaven's record as the night a divine event reached their address. Let them wake up tomorrow knowing something happened while they slept. Let peace flood the rooms where fear used to live. Let healing come to bodies that doctors gave up on. Let provision show up in bank accounts that were bleeding dry. Let reconciliation come to families that were fractured. And let them know God, let them feel in their bones that you have not forgotten them. In Jesus' name, amen. Listen to me carefully. You are not forgotten, you are not done. Your life is not a leftover, not a waiting room, not a slow fade to black. You are the chosen one of your bloodline. You're the one who broke the cycle. You're the one who prayed when no one else would. You're the one who held on when everyone else let go. And tonight, God is honoring that. When this video ends, don't just scroll away into the noise. Don't let the algorithm pull you back into chows. Stay here. Look in the description below. Look at the other messages on this channel. There are nighttime prayers, prophetic teachings for God's chosen ones in their later years. You're not alone on nights like this. We're building something here, a family of the faithful who refuse to go quietly. If this spoke to you, subscribe right now so you don't have to stand alone when the next battle comes. Comment below and tell me what you're believing God for in your home. Share this with someone who's up late tonight, pacing the floor, wondering if God still sees them. Chosen one, the clock in heaven is not against you. In these final 20 seconds, it's finally for you. Sleep under that truth tonight.